And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to St James's Pod, home of Newcastle United content. In this week's episode, we will, of course, be discussing the heartbreak of the City game, but mainly we're going to be discussing all the news that's been going on in the winter break. This episode of St James's Pod is brought to you by Total Supplements. Visit their website, totalsupplements.co, to discover their range of nutritionist-tested supplements, gummies, shakes, and natural extracts. From popular sports supplements like whey protein, creatine, vitamin tablets and powders, to mental health supplements such as nootropics and mushrooms, they've got you totally covered. They also have men's health collection offering testosterone support and beauty supplements to keep you looking like your absolute best. I personally use Total Supplements products, and I have been using them from before they came on board to sponsor the podcast, so I'm hugely excited to be partnering with a brand that I know and love. So whether you train hard, work hard, or take an active interest in your overall health, use our code St James's Pod, that's stjames'pod, for 25% off your entire order. The link's in the description. Support the podcast and visit totalsupplements.co now and tell them St James's Pod sent you. Here with Tom and Alex, we'll start with the big news for Newcastle United fans this week. Not good news. The rumour circulating Joelinton is out for the season if he requires surgery. It's been reported by a lot of newspapers, but not from the club, as far as I'm aware yet. Who wants to start on this one, because it's a massive blow, isn't it?
Huge blow, yeah. We've not, like you say, heard anything as of yet from the club, but I think you're right in saying it's heading in the direction of that he'll need the surgery and that he'll be out, and he's going to be such a big miss. To just know what his energy's like in that midfield, and yeah, I don't think there's anybody else currently in the team that can match that for us. So yeah, gutted to say the least that he's gonna be out for the rest of it, and yeah, I think it's gonna have to propel us to go into the market, because I don't think we've got somebody of his skill set that can come in and do the same thing that he does every game.
Well, it's not even the skill set, it's the actual position. Like, we don't have anyone else. So
True. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, we know we've got a couple who are potentially on the periphery of coming back in Willock and Anderson, who obviously play in centre midfield, but just, yeah, they're not the physical presence that Joelinton is. And yeah, he's become, in the last few years, so like pivotal to what Eddie Howe wants from that part of the field, just the pressure that he puts on players. And I know he's got his technical downfalls at times, but he just makes up for 100% effort every game. So that to not have him for the rest of the season is such a big blow. And yeah, it's such a shame that we at this point as well. I know we've had so many injuries this season, but yeah, to have him just be out for the rest of it is gutting.
I mean, you talk about technical ability. Like, it takes some expertise to shoot a ball and it hit yourself in the head. So I disagree with you on that one. But I would agree with you that it's fucking heartbreaking. Like, it's the most innocuous of things. Like, it on the field, it looked like, yeah, he pulled a muscle, like, whatever. You'll go off. Like, obviously, he came out the second half against Sunderland and, like, tried to run it off. And then, obviously, we scored the second goal, took him off, happy days. You'd think it was a little knock that he could be back in a few weeks' time. To find out he'd be out for the full season, like, it's just brutal. It's just one after another. And I hope we do go into the market, because even though we are getting players back, you don't want to, like, force them in. Like, we've had a few of those where, like, say, Longstaff's came back in and then he's been out for a few games again. Like, we've rushed him back in, so... But then again, if you get, like, a player in, like, they're going to take a long time to get up to, like, Eddie Howe's level of, like, fitness. So there's just no good way of remedying the situation, because, like, as you're saying, there's no one of, like, Joelinton's ilk that can come in and fill his space. So heartbreaking for him and heartbreaking for the team when we're not on a good run of form. We've got a few like winnable games coming up, like probably after the Villa game. Let's be honest. But yeah, like we need a fortune to turn on sharpish because we need to. If you're looking at the table with 10th place, like by the end of this round of fixtures, we could be in the bottom half. So we need a little bit of a kick up the arse, I think. Like,
yeah, the worrying thing as well is Bruno's one yellow off a suspension,
2 games as well.
Which will be a 2-game suspension. So obviously it's like we'll have them for Villa, but then we could be these more winnable games as we're saying on paper. We could have a midfield of Longstaff, Miley, and then drafting somebody in from a out of position. Or obviously we've recalled Joe White, or is it loan spell ended, so he should be in the squad. Or hopefully somebody like Willock's back, but obviously he's just back from quite a long injury, so he's not going to be fully up to speed either. So it's a bit worrying. But when we say like it might force us into the market, obviously the other big story this week that's come out is that we've got no money to spend. So Darren Eales, I'm sure everyone's seen his interview, basically just saying how we're having to stick to the FFP rules, and it's come to light this week. Obviously other clubs haven't been sticking to the rules and they're getting punished for it, with the news of Everton being punished again and Nottingham Forest. Also City have a date for their hearing, which apparently is next season for some reason. But yeah, with Everton and Forest, I guess we start with Everton. Like, as much as we as much as we might be happy to see them like get relegated, for the fans, like you have to feel for them twice in one season. It's harsh. Like, I don't understand how they can do twice in one season when FFP spread over a 3-year period. But
I mean, we don't know for sure what the second, what the result of the second breach is going to be yet. They're still deciding on if it's going to be more points, or this one will be a fine, or deferred points deductions for next seasons. But I mean, yeah, I know we've got our things to say about Everton, but yeah, I do have sympathy for them, and it's just, again, I mean, we talk about the City one, and you can't. I just feel like, yeah, these teams, Everton and Forest, fair enough, they've broken the rules, but they're trying to bridge a gap which just seems impossible at the moment for any clubs, even ourselves, with the endless amounts of money everybody seems to think that we have or do have. We can't bridge the gap because the rules are set up at the moment to favour the top 6, and there's no two ways around that. I think Darren Eales put it quite well in terms of describing the gap and the ladder between even ourselves and 6th place Spurs. If you put them at the lower end of the top 6 sides, the gap, it was still a couple 100 million in profits. That will take us years, like maybe over a decade, to like try and bridge that gap. And who knows what might happen? The Saudis might just, find that it's just not sustainable for them, or that they've just got better interests elsewhere to go down. Like, you don't know. We don't have a magic ball to look into and see what's coming up in the future. But it just seems, really frustrating for us and other teams that, those top 6 sides have been able to pull away financially. Okay, for some of them, fair enough. We can argue I've done it organically in a way that you can't really fault them too much. Like Arsenal, for example, I would say you can't really fault them. But yeah, the Chelseas and the Cities who've been bought by billionaire owners, and they've just been able to get away with what they've been doing for years. Seems to just be really unfair. And for Everton and Forest, it's just unfair that they've been kind of made a scapegoats of it, and that none of these other big clubs have yet to suffer from anything just yet.
Yeah, from what I gather, Everton's first charge was the 3-year rolling period up the 21-22 season, and then the second one is for last season, so 22-23. And I think what the Premier League are trying to do is get it all done and rounded up for this season, so it doesn't roll over, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously, like last year's has into this season. And obviously, City's from like 2009 or whenever their charges start from. So I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get it all done within the season. But it's like, it's so fucked up. Like, I think I've seen the dates of like the hearings and stuff like that. They're not going to decide on like whether it's points like this year, next year, whatever, until April. Like, you're going to have what, like 6-7 games left of the season, like maybe even less by then. And like, you can like have teams who are like almost relegated, and then you could be high in Everton in the mix or Forest or something like that. Or like, there's something like if they appeal it, it then goes into May. So you could have the final Premier League season table at the end of 38 games, and then one of the two teams get dock points after the season's ended. So you could have, say, Luton like getting relegated, finishing 18th place, and then after the season's finished, they can stay up. Like, so they've just made a right fuck up of like doing it in that kind of way. And it's just a fucking mess, to be honest, isn't it? Like, the Premier League, like, you can tell why the government's trying to sort of get a like independent regulator in or whatever, because it's clear the Premier League aren't fit for applying the own rules, kind of, even though they're using an independent like investigator. It's just so messy, and like I think like Everton fans are the ones like, if you're going to feel sorry for any, like, it's like to get hit done twice in one season is just like, it's not right. Like,
No.
Forest, however, do you want to take a guess how many players they've bought in like the 2 seasons since they've come up? Well, how many players they've got in?
It's over 40, isn't it?
42 players.
I was going to say like 20, but Jesus Christ.
42 players they've got in 1.5 seasons in. Like, how like, yeah. I know, like, the season they got promoted, they had a lot of players' contracts expiring, they had a few loans which, like, they didn't renew. But, like, I'm sure they've bought about, like, 5 right-backs or something like that. Like, they've gone fucking silly, let's be honest. So, I don't know how much you can complain, because they're coming up, spending all this money, because they've got owners with money. And then you've got, like, Luton, Sheffield United, like, coming up, and not really spending much at all. Yeah. And Forest are going to stay up, and they can't because they're not like financially open. So you can understand like these rules need to be enforced some way or another. But twice.
It kind of makes you realise though. It's
go on
with the rules as they are. It's kind of like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like if you spend the money to stay up, you're going to get penalised for breaking the rules. If you don't,
look at that.
Then you're more than likely going to go back straight back down.
True. I mean, Everton will be thinking, all right, okay, they're going to get done twice, but they've took a huge gamble in the fact that this league is a weaker league down at the bottom, that they might well just get away with it, and they'll just, wash their hands with what they've done the last couple of seasons, take the deductions. I mean, they look like, they're playing pretty well at the minute under Dyche, and I think they're probably capable of staying up, even with, let's say, another 5 points added on to the 10 that they already have. They could probably still find a way of surviving with that.
And they're still appealing those as well.
Oh, but yeah, exactly.
So those original 10 points, I still haven't heard whether that's going to be taken down to like 6-4, whatever. So it could end up like that 10 points could end up being 6. Then they get another 4 to go back to 10.
Yeah. But they'll think that that's a gamble in itself worth taking. And part of me just thinks like, fuck it, if the Toon just do it, like if we just go fuck it, let's just buy whoever we want and just take the hit, Like, yeah, we could get like some instant success and then just take a bit of a hit afterwards, and because it seems that like City have just been getting away with that for so long, like just getting success on success, and then they're not going to take away their titles, let's be honest, like, but they'll all those allegations against them go back so many years. Like there's obviously been stuff that has happened which has then resulted in them being able to win what they have done in what's happened in the last few years. So let's not put it bluntly, like that is seems to be the way. So if we were to do that, it just seems like if the rules are there and people are just going against them anyway, just why can't we just do that? We're trying to be too sensible.
I think the issue is now, though, it's like you're seeing with Everton that they've finally caught up to enforcing the rules on time and like more stringently. So obviously they're now enforcing it within one season of the breach of the rules. So it's like yet again where we're just too late to kind of profit from anything like this. It's like obviously City started before FFP, they plowed loads of money in, and then when FFP got brought in and like they didn't really know how to do the jurisdiction on it, they managed to break all the rules, and it's finally going to get caught up to them, but with their lawyers and stuff, who knows what will happen. But then obviously you see with Everton, like they're getting done now kind of because the Premier League are actually improving the way that they're doing things in terms of punishing people. But you can look at it on like two sides of the same coin. It's like, you feel sorry for them because the Premier League are doing them twice, but then it's also like, well, you shouldn't have broke the rule, like carried on breaking the rules. It's your own fault, really. And also when you're saying about towards the end of the season, like it's mad that you could like the points will suddenly change and someone will stay up and stuff, and like you'll get relegated by points deduction. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, if you should have followed the rules, why should you have the opportunity to play games to get those points back? But obviously that's coming from our standpoint where we're abiding to the rules and suffering for it. So
I mean, we're struggling now though. Our accounts came out for the last year, like just recently, and we'd lost, what was it, 74 million?
Yeah.
In the last year. So if you're allowed to lose 105 over a 3-year period, and we've lost 74 in just the last year, we've got fuck all wiggle room in the next probably 2 years.
The good thing is with those books though, that was like from last year, wasn't it? So that includes a year of Mike Ashley and doesn't include the Adidas deal or something else. There was something else big. That
Champions League, Salah.
That's it. Yeah.
All of it, yeah.
So I imagine they've made a big deal of that to prove that we have no money. But really, come the summer, we're going to have, I reckon we've got like 100 million to spend.
Hopefully, because
a wild Sam shout on St James's Pod as usual.
No, I think
100 million's not like loads in today's market. It's like
not,
two good players.
Yeah, and the rumours of and what Darren Eales was alluding to of like potentially having to sell big assets like Isak and Bruno Botman to try and fund future deals is obviously so frustrating because potentially homegrown players like Longstaff or Miley, for example. But like that's so frustrating because we're trying to build a team and effectively, and we're building relationships within that team. But to just have to potentially do away with somebody as key as Bruno, for example, just to then be able to fund somebody else in the future, it just seems massively unfair.
I don't think Darren Eales actually said that. I think what he said was like we need to basically trade like any other club, and then the media ran with it in that when you sell Isak, Bruno.
I think that names weren't dropped, but reading between the lines,
I don't think he even said big assets though, did he? Like,
I'm seeing it as
fans are worried that we're going to have to sell our best players, but really he's just saying we need to trade like we did with Maxi, for example, which some fans would argue he was one of our best players, but obviously Eddie Howe didn't fancy him, so...
Yeah, no, I see it as though, like, you look at Villa and they sold Grealish and sold him for 100 million, and then obviously with the stuff that we talked about before around the is it amortization? I can't say that word, but yeah, being able to chunk that up over the years, and I know the rule changes come in to say that you can only do that over a 5-year period, whereas obviously we know Chelsea have been doing that over 7-8 years, but like the way that
was
that is
Grealish
coming
an academy product as well?
He was an academy player for Villa, yeah. So
100 mil profit.
So yeah, straight up profit that they've obviously, we've seen what they've been able to do with that, and yeah, fair play. It's just that would worry me that if we would to have to resort to, not to say that we're going to get 100 million for say Longstaff, but yeah, I would
probably.
Well, fair play. Yeah, he's or my league potentially, but yeah, I wouldn't want to see that have to be the case. So yeah, I hope we can find a way around that without having to resort to selling any more key players to buy. But obviously, we know we need to keep improving this squad because this season's proven exactly that our squad is just not being capable for through injuries and just lack of depth in some positions that we know that we need to keep improving on it. It's just how we can do that in this current world with FFP and PSR. That's it's going to be something to navigate around.
You know what, this Darren Eales interview, do you know how when Ashworth had one a few months ago and was saying he's got an ulterior motive here, there's something more going on? I reckon Eales is doing exactly the same thing. He's not went into Sky Sports and said, "Can I have an interview?" to tell Toon fans that we need to sell one of our best players or something of the likes. He's had this interview, so us, the media, everyone else, start this conversation of FFP, is it still sustainable? Is it still right? Is it protecting the top six? Is it anti-competition? You've heard that phrase, and FFP's been talked about a lot more in this transfer window than the transfers themselves. You're hearing everyone talk about it now. So fingers crossed this is for Newcastle, the beginning of the end for FFP.
Apparently there's a meeting in February, isn't there, to discuss
I think
changes for it. I don't know whether that's come about since the interview or maybe they knew that was coming up, so he thought let's get the media talking about it, so there's some pressure on him. But I mean, it could just be a really clever move. And then obviously it comes out about Everton Forest, so that amplifies it, and the fact that nobody's really buying in this window as well. Just to kind of talk about our transfers, if we were to make any, there's a rumour circulating that we are looking at Edison.
We need to keep alive. So he might be injured though.
I know, we injured him, so he didn't do a good job there. No, he plays for Atalanta in Italy. He's
centre
midfielder, Brazilian. So
not another one.
We'll get a three Brazilians potentially in the midfield. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen enough of Atalanta this season to see what he would bring, but it's obviously it's been a key position that we've had rumours around. We know the Calvin Phillips rumours have hung around a little bit, but I think they've sort of died away a little bit following the City game, and that there's even a
when
new.
You've seen him celebrating at the end.
Yeah, fuck that. Yeah, we don't need that. I think I've seen rumours
it's obviously fair enough. His team just won, but you would think if there was any truth that he was coming to us.
Yeah.
Like, if he knew there was discussions going on, he would be a bit more like
Bit low
tempered on
key.
his celebrations, but he wasn't. So I think that's obviously not happening. Yeah. So what do you think to the idea of keeping Isaac Hayden around the squad, because he's back off his loan spell, playing in Belgium, I think, and he's been touted to move, I think, to the Championship, move straight back out on loan. It seems strange that we're not even considering keeping a hold of him just for a body in midfield when, like, he's our player, no transfer fee, and he knows the club inside out.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised because he has been, a very decent player for us, albeit we haven't seen a lot of him recently under Eddie Howe. But yeah, he fills a need, I think, in terms of his defensive midfield skills. And yeah, somebody who can sit and be a bit more of that defensive role that we haven't had pretty much all season, that we've since Tonali was suspended. So yeah, I think that it would make a little bit of sense. He's been playing from my knowledge this season, so it's not as though he's going to be coming in too rusty. But yeah, I think that there would be some sense in it, and same with Joe White, like you mentioned earlier, if he's coming back from a loan spell as well. I think he was at Plymouth, wasn't he? So yeah, just keep those players like in mind for if we're continuing to have these injuries that we're having in that position right now.
Like, it just, if Joelinton is out for the season, if he goes for surgery before the Villa game, like, why would we not like register Hayden in the squad? Like, I don't get it. Like, we're going to have a space for an extra man if we don't get a transfer in. So why would you not have a player who's played with a few of the players before, who we know has done a job in the past? Yeah, even if it takes a month or two for him to get up to fitness or whatever, like, we'd still have him for the running, like, as an extra pair of legs. We'll probably be paying half his wages anyways if we went to the Championship. And then, like,
Yeah. I don't think
it
he's
just
on a
seems a
lot
bit
either.
aye. But, like, from Eddie Howe's words saying, like, yeah, I think he'll go back on loan, like, it doesn't seem like it's even an option.
Do you think something's gone on there? Because it is strange. Do you remember? Do you remember when who was that player that there was rumours circulating when he couldn't get in the team that he'd shagged Graham Jones's wife or something?
Wild rumours. I don't remember them ones.
I remember it
Maybe
somewhere. Oh, it must have been Jeff Hendrick then.
Yeah. Maybe it was Hayden, that's why he's not coming back.
Well, yeah, there was
anyway.
Yeah, I know there was always rumours around Hayden not particularly wanting to be in the northeast, and he wanted to be down south. And I know he's obviously played away in Belgium this year, so he couldn't have been further down south if he tried. But yeah, geographically speaking. But yeah, I think there's definitely a case to register him and just have him as an option, especially because, as I was seeing in the City game, we do have a massive need for somebody to sit in front of that defence, because I've seen so many occasions where Phil Foden and Doku and De Bruyne, when he came on, were just finding so much space in behind our midfield and in front of the defence, and it's not just that game. I've seen it in other games this season. There's just no one taking responsibility of that position, and Hayden could definitely fulfill that with being a defensive-minded midfielder.
Well, it's the other thing we're saying as well. Like, if Bruno's missing 2 games, at least he is a centre mid. Like, it's either that or we draft in somebody out of position, or obviously we've got the option of Joe White now as well, who, it was Crewe. He was at just for the last 6 months, I think. And then Exeter before that, so...
But how confident would you feel of a midfield three of Sean Longstaff, Lewis Miley, and White in the midfield? Exactly. It's a bit threadbare, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and
it's a bit desperate.
You'd probably have to do Longstaff in the six, which he's not amazing at, and then the other two in front of him.
I mean, at least he's got the legs. Like, Bruno can never get back when he loses the ball. At least Longstaff's got like a bit more legs about him that he could. Not a bad one in venturing too far forward. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of like, see, for me, I guess we could talk about this as well. I'm kind of writing this Premier League season off now. It's like, we just need to get through it and really attack the FA Cup. And if we could have a cup run, it could still be a mint season for us. Like, we've had some fantastic moments already this season, Champions League and in the Premier League as well. Bit of a cup run in the Carabao. So if we had an FA Cup run, especially if we got the final or won it, like, it would still be an amazing season, especially if we won it. And then we'd get European football as well. So I kind of don't mind the idea of, let's just play the two young'uns together. And like, he's coming from playing League Two, but so did Elliot Anderson. I suppose he had a bit more time in training and stuff. Or even if Joe White's just used his legs when Willock comes back, and you give Willock like 60 minutes or however long it takes for him to totally run his legs out, and then bring the young lad on. But at the same time, I do kind of wonder why we don't just get a professional Isaac Hayden. Like, I'm sure Hayden's only 28 still. It's not like he's past it. I know he's had his injury issues, but yeah, it just seems so strange when it's like such an easy option. Like, he's literally there. He's our player, so just play him. Unless there's some sort of financial thing behind it, I don't really understand.
Maybe like an extra year might be triggered on his contract or something. We don't know, obviously, contract details, but like, I
believe he's contracted till 2026 as well. Isaac Hayden already. So,
well, there we are. Like, I suppose we just might as well just use him. In that case, if he's still around, and it will only do him good in terms of his value if he's back playing Premier League, even in a bit part role.
Depends how he plays, I guess.
Well, yeah, depends on how he plays. I get that, but
absolute dog shit.
That is fair, but I don't. He's never, from memory, put too much of a foot wrong while he's played for us. Like, he's filled in a role as at centre half or in midfield, and he's had a couple of highlight moments in the black and white. So yeah, I think it's not like a complete shut of the door for, unlike the likes of Ryan Fraser and Jeff Hendricks. Like, they're obviously, we know that their future is done with us, but I wouldn't say it's completely slammed shut for Isaac Hayden. So yeah, it is a point. But back to your point though that you made around the writing the season off, from a league point of view, would you say then the pressure is on Eddie to get us further into the FA Cup and obviously try and win it? I think, I'm not going to say, well, all right, maybe quarterfinals or further. Would you say that if he fails to do that and we continue to fall away in the league, that the pressure's going to be heavily on him? And obviously this ties with the rumours that have always been circulating and increased since he's been sacked, but Mourinho's now available. So yeah, I wondered what your thoughts were on what that means for Eddie.
Like, I think the only people who are talking about Eddie Howe, like, and his job being under pressure, is like, it's the media, like, drumming everything up, and probably like quite new fans to Newcastle. Like, if you've been around for the past 14 years of Ashley, you're really not going to be that bothered about slipping in the bottom half of the table. Obviously, yeah, finishing fourth last season, dropping into the bottom half, not ideal. But there's so many mitigating circumstances of this season. Like, you've had, obviously, the Champions League games, the hardest group that we could have got, pretty much. Like, that's obviously taken a lot out. The injuries have been fucking ridiculous. We've still got to the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup, and obviously went out in the last minute, and then the penalties. Like, it could have went a different way. Obviously, Tonali, like, with summer signing, that we spent all that money on, that's still, like, got a hamstring this window. Is like he's out for the season. Like, there's so many like factors into like what's going on. I just don't think it'll be an option. And like, we've seen the documentary how gets on with the owners. Like, they've got a good relationship, like, from top to bottom. And yeah, the Mourinho link is an easy one to make, but like, personally, it's not one that I'd want. And like going from like Eddie Howe, like, his style of managing, like the high press, the high intensity, to Mourinho, who's very much a defensive-minded coach, like, sort of make sure everything's solid at the back and then work from there. Like, I'd prefer to at least give Eddie Howe another season, and that's like the biggest understatement. Like, I give, like, but obviously, with having all this money and stuff like that, and what happened last season, there are going to be expectations from the owners in some way, shape, or form. So, I don't know. Like, I just don't see him being at any risk no matter what happens this season, really.
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. I don't think from inside the club there'll be any pressure on him at all, no matter what happens in the FA Cup. I don't know really how many people would want Mourinho. Like, I agree with you. There's that like sort of fairy tale thing about it just because of Bobby Robson, but it really wouldn't make sense to go from that style of football, like you say, to the Mourinho style. Like, it would be it'd be similar to what you've seen at Spurs, where they keep chopping and changing, and then the style just never really. Or even Chelsea, like, they've been changing managers left, right, and centre, and the squad doesn't know what they're doing. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's outrageous that anyone even mentions Eddie Howe losing his job. He's like, even this season, like, he's still done a fantastic job. Like, I don't understand why people are saying he hasn't. Like, if you cast your mind back to the start of the season, like with the extra Champions League games and stuff, like, no one was really expecting us to get back into Europe. So a top half finish, and yeah, we didn't get out of the group, but we gave it a real good go, and like, we got some fantastic results. And then you add on obviously the injuries and the suspension. Like, I don't think anyone, I don't even think Pep could have done any better than what Eddie's done so far. So for me, I'm just like, it's madness. But I mean, you know, we have gone on a bit of a losing run in the Prem, so like, I understand the media talking about it, but.
Well, I'll play devil's advocate then. So,
Are you Howe out? Are you?
No,
Yeah,
I'm just, I'm not. I'm just gonna throw out a few. I'm just throwing out a few things here just to try and, give a bit of balance. But right, so we talk about injuries a lot and how that's caused this season to, sort of peter away a little bit. But those injuries, quite a few of them, just been freak injuries. The likes of Murphy with a dislocated shoulder, from a bad fall. Like, you can't mitigate for those ones. But some of them, like more muscle injuries and stuff, I'm just putting it out there. Could that be down to the style of play that that Eddie has been putting us under with the high press and the constant running. Maybe that might have been something that he's obviously very dedicated to playing that same style game in, game out. Even knowing that there was going to be the increased fixture list with Europe, that hasn't really changed. Obviously, it's hasn't changed in some respects because of how successful it was working last season. But yeah, I'm just putting it out there. Could that have been a result, and maybe some of these in-game decisions as well that could have been a factor as well as to why we've not done as well with not making certain changes when you could have done. I'm just trying to throw ideas out there. I'm not necessarily saying I'm Eddie out, because that I think again it would be
Sounded like it though.
Look, you gotta put some balance out there for fans, and I know that there will be a percentage of fans of ours that are getting sick of the sort of results that we're
Fans of ours
turning
or
in.
fans of Newcastle?
Both, I imagine.
Both, yeah. But yeah, no. Don't get me wrong. Like, this season has had highlights like that will live long in the memory, and Eddie's been obviously key to that. The PSG results, like there was both games for that matter against them. But yeah, there's just been certain games where you just think, like, could he have done better in? And
So
yeah,
I've seen this point made a lot about the injuries, and like, in my opinion, if we hadn't had all the freak injuries and the suspension to Tonali, we would have been using the squad a lot more. There would have been a lot more rotation, and therefore there would have been less muscle injuries. It's only because players have been forced to play so much, the ones who were fit, why we've picked up more and more muscle injuries. Because you've seen, like, really they came later on. The first ones were all like the freaks, like even Barnes was a broken toe. Like I say, 2 broken backs. And yeah, the only thing I'd kind of agree on is the in-game substitutions. Like, I personally would have. There's been a few games where like Isak's just been dead on his feet. I would have just chucked the youngster up top just to press. But at the same time, I understand why he hasn't. Like, it's hard when you're the manager and you're trying to win the game. Like, realistically, you want Isak on the pitch. Like, if a chance comes, he's a deadly finisher. You don't want a youngster on who's like inexperienced and, let's face it, not as good of a player. So I understand this decision.
Imagine we're chasing a game and we've got Isak on and we take him off for like Parkinson. Imagine the fans' reaction. They'd be like, how would we get hounded for it? Like, you cannot win. Like, when was the last time we could make multiple attacking substitutions in a game? Like, bringing on the likes of like Wilson, like Barnes, like Murphy. Like,
yeah,
I can't remember last time we had a deep bench with attacking players on.
Even in the last game, we had to bring a left back on in attacking position because we've got nobody.
You're talking like probably September, October, like, because it was before the sort of Champions League fixtures like really got heavy. It's like silly.
No, that's a fair point.
I do take the argument that he could have rotated the squad more by playing players out of position in the forward positions, but I don't know. Like, it's very hard to know what like information he's got and stuff. Like, the medical team tells him Isak's fit to play 90 minutes, even if he's looking a bit dead on his feet. He's thinking, well, he's not going to get injured. So, or like Anthony Gordon, for example, Miggy, another one who's had to play a lot of games because there's no one else in their position. But yeah, I mean, do you know when obviously like we sacked Bobby Robson and then it just like went horrendous for years. It just feels like that to me. It's like we've got such a good manager. Like, I look forward to watching his interviews every week. He's like, not only like is he a good manager, a good coach, but he's also an like amazing representative of the club. Like, I'd much rather him being the way he is than having like a José Mourinho who's just like attacking referees all the time and
ego,
getting sent
like,
off. So I personally think Eddie and as well, like, you've got to remember he's a young coach, so he's actually learning this season. So next season, he's going to have all this experience to go again with the extra games and everything like that. But in terms of Jose, though, do you think he's going to get another big club, or do you think he'll potentially go into international football, maybe?
I think that's what's rumoured, isn't it? The Portugal job.
The step into international's the right moment for him. I think I've personally thought Roma were a bit harsh to let him go. I know they've just been on a similar sort of poor run like we have been, but it's coming off the back of success that he's had in the past 2 seasons that he's been there, won them a European trophy, got them to another European final last season, lost on pens. Like, all right, I think he's still got it in terms of being a successful manager, and he'll go down as one of the best ever in that respect. But I think that gets to a point for some of these like managers where international football sort of suits them better. Like, he's seen it with like Capello. He had a very good like club management career, and then he stepped into international football round about the same time, similar age in terms of that. So I think.
Would you take him for England?
You up?
Would you take him for England at the end of the Euros?
Mourinho at England. That's an interesting one.
I'd rather Mourinho than Southgate, but I still think with the players we've got, I'm not sure it's the type of football we need. But
true.
I mean, he is good at winning trophies as well.
He's a cup specialist, yeah.
Yeah, probably would take him.
Yeah, I think so. But I'm sure he's got dreams of taking Portugal all the way to winning a major trophy. So
But haven't Portugal had a bit of success with? Is it Roberto Martinez who's in there?
Yeah, well, obviously they won the first major trophy a couple of years ago, didn't they? So
I can't see them swapping that out, even though it's Jose.
Yeah, especially like international management, you don't tend to like chop and change half as frequent as the Premier League, especially. Like, I don't think you'll get another like big Premier League job. Like, I think any of the big 6, big 7, if you include us, Villa, I just can't see any of them wanting him to manage their club, especially after how sour it went at the end of the Spurs tenure. I think like something along the same kind of caliber as Roma, like that kind of, say, like a Champions League chasing squad in another league, but not the Premier League. I really don't think. I think his time's probably up in terms of the Premier League job. Like,
yeah, there's a bit of a shift, isn't there, in terms of what clubs are looking for in managers, and the old school ones, the Mourinho's. I mean, Ancelotti's still, he's in that sort of bracket of old school, but he's still winning stuff, isn't he, with Real? So I don't know, but in terms of Premier League, though, the shift just seemed to be towards attacking-minded coaches. So I agree. I don't think we'll see him back in a Premier League job anytime soon.
Right, well, it's about time we got round to reviewing the City game, seeing as that is what this episode is titled. So let's do it. Let's start with some good performances then. Some highlights from the first half. Alex, I know there's some players you want to highlight in terms of playing well.
I thought Bruno started really well. He controlled the game quite well, and considering how good they are on the ball, we had some quite good spells where we showed real attacking intent, and that was from the very first minute. Obviously, we had the ball in the net. It was really positive coming out firing, and as Thomas alluded to earlier, we just looked like a very good team. Like, when we've got the energy, when we've got the high press, and causing them problems from the start. Like, obviously causing Edison problems, and then obviously he went off injured after like sort of a bit of a hash up at the back where we could have scored again. So yeah, it was a really, really bright start from her, and yeah, I was despite some questionable names on the starting sheet, I thought I was really impressed with how it came out. Were you at the game, Thomas?
I was, yeah. I was.
Yes, yeah.
I was impressed, yeah, with a few to begin with. Like you say, the ones you mentioned, Bruno definitely was controlling things. Miggy started with a lot of intent and purpose, and yeah,
Learn how
getting
to
in
use his right
behind.
foot.
I
Can't believe
know,
it. 2 weeks
yeah,
in a row, he's crossed the ball with his right foot.
it's a miracle. And yeah, I think the Edison injury was a definite like massive moment in the game for us. Like the crowd knew, like if a key player such as him going off, and yeah, their subkeeper seemed a bit ropey at times. I think the strange thing I noticed when he came on was he didn't want to take a goal kick, did he? Like, I don't know if that was they didn't trust him to be able to like kick it upfield or what, but they seem to go short all the time with him. But yeah, obviously our fans got well behind trying to put him under pressure. But yeah, like it was good beginning obviously, and then yeah they took the lead through a very decent finish from Bernardo Silva, has to be said. But yeah, again, some sort of questions on Dan Burn on that particular goal, has to be said. But then the reaction to that was brilliant. I thought like we didn't drop off. We kept pushing, and yeah, some very decent goals scored afterwards.
Yeah, it's a funny one with that first goal because, like, you see, like Dan Burn, he's almost like in the middle of the box when the ball gets played out to Walker, and Walker's technically Gordon's man, so Gordon should have, could have, maybe been the one to track him back. But like Burn, I don't know if he's been instructed to like mark his man. I think it was Bernardo, like religiously, but he got dragged so far inside. You think he could have maybe passed him on, and then held the width a little bit more. Because he's basically standing side by side with Botman when the ball gets played across. So Walker's has got all the time in the world to take a few touches and like rifle the ball in. As you said, a ridiculous finish. Like so,
yeah, I can't fault Dubravka in any way for that one.
Oh no, put it in the corner.
But yeah, speaking of which, Dubravka I thought was absolutely outstanding. That's like by far his best game since coming back
since
in.
Liverpool.
Yeah, but even just like I was thinking, in the back of my mind, it felt like that Tim Krul performance way back when against Spurs, like, and the amount of like saves he was making, and yeah, if he had kept on that way, he could have been breaking records because he was just felt like he was just going to keep it at 2-1, and obviously we know what happens next, but yeah, he was just he had an outstanding game, definitely man of the match for me from a toon perspective. But yeah, the goals, our goals, obviously the reaction to which, like the yeah, Bruno, like that the one, a couple of touches for going from keeper to Trippier, wasn't it?
For ages.
To Bruno, and then across field. It's just amazing. I don't know if I'm getting the wrong way around. Was that the second one actually for Gordon? The one I'm thinking of.
The Gordon one, was that not the one where? Oh no, yeah. So the Isak one was where Cher kind of broke through, played it to Bruno, and Bruno just no luck hit it through for Isak. So the Gordon one, yeah, it must have been the one you were talking about, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yes, but Bruno obviously was key in both of them, and yeah, the second one in particular, just the move from back to front was brilliant, and obviously can't take away anything from both finishes from Isak and Gordon. Just placed them pretty much identical, like from bending past the keeper. They were great finishes, and yeah, put us in such a great spot in that first half, and held on a little bit towards the end of the first half, but it was obviously key for us to go in ahead at the break. And yeah, it looked as though we were just so solid. Yeah, we were under pressure, but dealing with it well up until the magic moment that De Bruyne was brought on, and it just completely turned the game. I don't know about you, Alex, but there was just the sense around me in the ground that there was a sense of inevitability about that. Everybody knew De Bruyne was going to come on, and everybody knew he was going to be doing something in this game. And yeah, it just felt. I thought he was going to curl that free kick in with his first touch of the ball. But yeah, he obviously is just such an amazing player, and totally changed the game.
I think I said when he was taking that free kick, I was like, it's written in the stars, it's gone top in. Thankfully, just rifled. I think it hit the wall, did it?
Yeah, came off the wall.
Very, very pleased to see that happen, because I was fully expecting that. Like, I also noticed as well, Dubravka gave him so much space on that right-hand side of the goal. Like, Dubravka was almost touching his post on the opposite side. I'm like, he literally needs to get it on target here, and it's in. But I mean, it's one of those performances where, yes, we give him a lot of time in between the lines, but he was almost unplayable. Like, should we have dropped Bruno a little bit deeper, like to almost sit like in that space? Maybe, yeah. Like, 'cause Foden was getting in there all game, De Bruyne was getting in there after. But I don't know. I don't know how much you can put on Howe. Like, yes, the performance dropped in the second half. The energy levels dropped. But once again, we couldn't make any substitutions. Well, we could. But in attacking roles, like, who could have really brought on? Like, would you have brought Isak off for like Parkinson or something like that against Man City late on? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I couldn't really see it being like Matt Ritchie's game to come on or Kraft to come in. It's just one of those games where they stepped up when they needed to, and I thought we were going to hold on. So that's what it was, just a bit of a sucker punch, like right at the end. And once again, I think Trippier could have done better. It came from his side again. It's just tipped over his head. Obviously, it's a great ball by De Bruyne out to Oscar Bob, getting his first Premier League goal, obviously against us.
Such a cartoon character, that guy, isn't he?
Mate, like, don't even get started. Oscar Bob, man.
His afro.
Oscar Bob. Yeah.
There's definitely a Simpsons character somewhere. Like, there's someone called Oscar Bob in Simpsons.
Like Bob's brother or
something. But yeah, it was a bit sickening, because I thought we were good value for a performance, but at the end of the day, I think City probably deserved to win. Just about. They've probably done enough. But yeah, taking the lead by half time and then not seeing it out, it's another one of those where
I was literally like convincing myself, like, oh, you know what, it's 2-2 against City, like, we'll take it. Like, I was actually like disappointed getting the draw, because like obviously we'd been ahead.
I wasn't not disappointed in the ground. Like, the atmosphere, I was nervous going into the last like 5-10 minutes. Like, that's when we're not really getting chances, we're sitting back. Yeah. And to be fair, we weren't really like giving up a lot of chances either. We were defending well, but
it seems to have gone from like, we can just take barrage after barrage, and then Nigel barrage.
Why was that going through my mind as well?
And then now
that's why.
Oh, look,
we just crumble at the end of every game now. If we have if we're drawn, I guess.
I hope I don't think of that when we go on, like.
Just to take it back to the very first goal that was disallowed for offside, where obviously Edison got injured. just before we wrap up, what do you make of the linesman not flagging? Because obviously he was getting a lot of stick off, especially Kyle Walker, which was probably because I think it was Walker who ended up injuring his own keeper. But I don't really see what they were complaining about, because that seems to be the rule now, that if it's a goal scoring opportunity, they'll let it play out and then they'll check the offside afterwards. So what did you make of it? Because obviously when it results in an injury, it's going to bring up questions. But
I don't know. I think some of the crowd were getting a bit pissed off with the linesman initially flagging. I'm sure did he not flag really early on one just before
it was after that he started flagging
really
everything.
early. Yeah, we got flagged. It just seemed to be Newcastle though, but he flagged must have been 5 or 6 times. We got offside flags putting up when some of them they would have been a yard offside. Some were a lot tighter.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I think that was because he got shouted at so much for the injury one, then he just started flagging every time instead, which again is players influencing the official.
Yeah, it was a little it was unclear in the ground what was going on, because we were obviously Edison was down injured, we weren't sure if there was a VAR check that was happening at the same time either, or not. I don't know how close it was. I haven't seen it back, but it was it was very
offside.
Yeah, I'd imagine, but it was just very unclear what was going on from our perspective. But yeah, I thought the ref was. He was getting some pelters at half time, and for the rest of the game, just because it did seem as though he was heavily leaning
ref, him though, isn't he?
on City. Shit. He's as soon as they said, I didn't actually see who the ref was going to be prior to the game, but when they were announcing it prior, just before the game kicked off and said his name, I was like, fuck's sake, and I knew he was going to have one of those difficult games. He just doesn't seem he just always seems out of his depth.
He does.
Doesn't seem to be able to control big personalities on the pitch. And yeah, he was quick in with booking Bruno. I know the tackle was.
Oh no! I swear from my seat that looked like a booking. He fucking dived in. It was so stupid.
It was a bit of a daft one. Fair enough, but he hadn't done anything to prior, and all right, fair enough. Some tackles you don't need to have made a few before to get a booking. It's just
he needs to cut them out, Bruno. That's why he's on 9 yellows. He just does these daft ones where there's just no need for it.
No, but to be fair to him, he kept his composure throughout what was then a tense game.
But he seems to love an early yellow, doesn't he? He's then unable later in the game to really maybe later in the game he performs a little bit better if he's not on a yellow, because he's got that opportunity to go into tackles a bit harder or give a bit
pinch the ball quickly and go on the counter.
Yeah. So he really needs to cut that out, because he has a fantastic game, with the 2 goals, like you're saying, and there was other moments as well, but stuff like that does let him down a bit. Any special mentions for the review?
I thought Gordon had another cracking game, to be fair. Obviously his finish against Diaz, he had him on toast. But generally, I think he looked dangerous.
I think Miggy needs a bit of a shout out as well. I thought he had another half decent game. His finishing's really poor still. I don't know what's going on with that, but it was his pressing in the first sort of 20 minutes or whatever that was putting them really under pressure, and then putting their sub-keeper under pressure as well.
Totally, he had space in behind Gvardiol most of the game, or at least the first half. That just seemed like the obvious pass on all the time. And back to your point about
a bit more.
Well, yeah, true. That was frustrating, but otherwise, it was always there, and eventually, he he started to learn a little bit about it as the game went on. But no, back to your point with Diaz though and Gordon. Obviously, that was a flashpoint in the first half with like a naughty one putting Gordon into the advertising hoardings. Or it was the camera, was it? From where I was sat, it looked like he
shoulder into the camera.
Yeah, I mean, he came off, and throughout the first half, it seemed like he always had a little feel at it. Because must have been, but Diaz, he's one of them ones who like an unlikable, he just didn't. He obviously became the pantomime villain for the rest of the game from the fans' point of view. But yeah, Gordon definitely looked sharp and wanted to get in behind at all times. I thought like Miley again had a decent enough game. Obviously, quite a few big characters in the centre of midfield for City, but he got about well. I thought Longstaff might have. I don't know. I think he didn't have his best game personally. Just didn't seem to win his battles as well as I thought. I don't know about what you thought on that one, but his performance had dipped a little for me.
Yeah, it's hard to criticise Miley because he is so young. There's like a few times he gave the ball away. He got caught in the ball once or twice. So same with the Longstaff in a way, but they're under so much pressure. Like you forget how good City are as a pressing side as well. Like they don't give you like 1 second on the ball. Like it's really hard to play through them. And like Miggy was really good for that like out ball because Vardiol not being a natural left back, like he could have the beating for him. But it's when the ball gets put in behind, it's like he runs onto it unnaturally because he opens his body up and hits it with his left foot to go down the line almost. So he doesn't shape up like right as if like if you're on the right wing, right footer, it's much easier just to take it down the line. He's always wanting to go inside. But yeah, back to Longstaff. Yeah, he's a bit scrappy, but it's hard to judge someone on a sort of performance against City when you don't have time on the ball. They can play it around you so well, and the quality of their players, they probably can get the better of you when you're not completely on it.
But that was like I made the point too a few times. Like the amount of times I've seen that Foden was free, like just floating, like, and I know he does that against like loads of teams, and loads of teams fail to pick him up in that because he's very good at doing that, just coming off the left and just dropping in and causing a nuisance. But like Doku was doing it as well, and it just seemed like nobody wanted to take responsibility for that part of the pitch. Obviously, the defenders, like centre half, Shane Botman, didn't want to come out to like of their line to try and meet Foden there in case they got turned and done. But Foden just seemed like he always had that like ability to just receive the ball, turn, and like play like a neat 1-2 or little pass in behind the defenders. And yeah, I don't know if like just one of the midfield three could have done a little bit better there to just try and negate that. And
the annoying thing about that one as well is that he did that. I think it was last season. Did the same thing and we got done by it. So we didn't really learn a lesson on that one. But I mean, I think it was. I don't know if you agree, but I thought it was more in the second half really when the legs were going. So one interesting thing though, they said on my commentary that Lascelles was coming on for Bruno. I can't remember. I think it was just before De Bruyne came on, which at the time I was like, "What? Like, what's going to happen here?" And then, like 2 minutes later, they were like, "Oh, we've heard that change isn't happening anymore." So whether that was a mistake or that was actually going to happen, and maybe Bruno had a niggle, or what do you think was happening there? Like, if De Bruyne hadn't come on, would we have seen that change, and maybe we were going to go back 5?
Yeah, it could have been. I to be fair, thought that was going to be the case when Hall came on, and that we were going to tuck like things
So
in a little,
burning.
and then go with Hall at the left wing back spot. But obviously that didn't happen. But I mean, it could have worked. We've not really seen Eddie revert to a back three too often. Could have been that Share pushed up into midfield, as we've seen him
this
play
is what
there
I'm
before.
thinking, because obviously we're going to have to do something like this when Bruno's out. So
It's a matter of time before he gets that 10th yellow, so
Yeah,
I'm going to have to do something. Maybe that as an option. The old Steve Bruce shout of Sharon in the centre midfield. Marks the stroke. He's
we
teaching him Eddie Howe everything he knows.
Oh.
We kind of played around with the wing-back system in pre-season, and we also kind of played around with Trippier and CDM. Obviously, we haven't seen it since, so whether he just thought, well, that didn't work, so we'll not see it again, I don't know. But
I
I
feel
guess
like
in the next episode we're gonna have to try and the next episode we'll have Bruno, so it should be alright. But we're gonna
fingers
have to
crossed. We should have, anything can happen in training and all sorts. Well, I mean, there was rumours, wasn't there, of like him being away, wasn't it, in Paris, and obviously the media lost their head on that.
Trying to force a move for Bruno somewhere.
They
no
really
matter
do.
what comes out, it's like, that means Bruno's leaving. But did you see the interview Joelinton and Bruno? I'm guessing it was before Joelinton's injury. It was filmed, but I think it was to do with Adidas, with the new Preds and stuff. But I mean, every chance he gets, he talks about how much he loves the club and the city and everything. So the media can keep saying stuff, but I'm not worried about Bruno going anywhere.
Nah.
True.
Apart from his yellow cards. But I guess the next episode we will be previewing Fulham and Aston Villa. I'm just really hoping we have some good news on the injury front and somebody's back, especially in attacking positions, especially centre mid. Willock would be a dream. Like, if we could have Willock back fully fit, because he can do both, like, that would be so good. But guys, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell, like us as well, like the video. If you're on podcast platform, follow the pod so you get notifications when we release the next episode, and you can leave us a 5-star review as well. That would really be nice. And tell your friends, tell your mother, tell your sister, tell your brother, and we'll be back to review those games and hopefully bring you some good news in terms of transfers and injuries. That would be really nice. But thanks guys, we'll catch you in the next one.